Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that 2023 has been by far the worst year for Disney, and let alone Bob Iger as the Disney CEO. But it's not just about him, it's also about the board of directors making all the wrong calls, as well as we gotta look at the top shareholders, two of which, for example, BlackRock and Vanguard, funding all of these nonsense agendas into multiple franchises out there like Star Wars, Marvel, and more. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get into what's going on with Rachel Zegler and Jenna Ortega. Now, we talked about this ongoing development just about 3 or 2 days ago about what's been going on with Disney's deal with excluding Zegler from multiple projects and including Ortega to replace her actual said roles for those projects. Now, we know that a lot of this is rooted back to the viral interviews by Zegler, much of which he said were not approved by Disney based on what Zegler said, such as mentioning Andrew Burnap's scenes maybe getting cut, and that's Hollywood, baby, or her bashing Snow White 1937 about the prince being a stalker. Those, as it turns out, just to recap, were not approved by Disney for Zegler to say, and that really damaged the Snow White brand, if you will. Now, moving onwards, what's even all the more revealing has a lot to do with Zegler's overall attitude and her thoughts and her overall way that she's dealing with the whole Ortega situation. Let's get into all of this and the nitty-gritty details about all of this. Now, with Disney going through major adjustments for their upcoming movies, one significant development has to do with Rachel Zegler and Jenna Ortega behind the scenes. As it turns out, Zegler has been responding in a very erratic way with argumentative responses to the Disney higher-ups through her agents and manager, since of course this has been rattling throughout Disney and made their ultimate decision to cast Jenna Ortega from multiple upcoming Disney movies that Rachel was removed from due to the ongoing Snow White drama and her interviews going viral that damaged that brand. Now, Jenna is reportedly taking over Rachel's role that she was supposed to get in the Pirates of the Caribbean reboot as one of the main lead pirates, as well as a Shrek-like animated movie to compete against DreamWorks, since DreamWorks is now creating a Shrek reboot and or sequel / spin-off. Now, Zegler reportedly did not take this at all well, and does hold a competitive attitude against Ortega now, after Jenna got the call and accepted multiple roles from Disney that Rachel had in the running for months. Rachel was supposed to get the role of the main lead in the Pirates reboot as one of the female pirates that was going to be the daughter of a significant character that Jenna will now be playing in the future that is being created by the Last of Us showrunner. Now, let me just pause here for 1 second. Now, some people probably are going to think that this new pirate that Ortega is now going to play, that Rachel was supposed to play, since the character is going to be the daughter of one of the characters in this movie, I don't believe it's the daughter of Captain Jack Sparrow. I mean, that would be quite an interesting twist, but I don't think that's what's happening. I think that she's just going to be a random character of the daughter of another random character. But what's interesting about this, though, further, is the fact that Ortega landed this role in replacement of Zegler, and Zegler lost all of that, due in part to her really saying those wacky things about Snow White 1937 and Andrew Burnap. Now, we gotta realize that Andrew Burnap has been very silent. He never really actually spoke up about his role for Snow White. Even before the strikes, he never talked about anything, and that's also very revealing. You know, we know that Zegler is a very toxic actress to work with. We know that Mark Webb even had a very tough time working with her behind the scenes for Snow White, based on a lot of her singing sessions and how she wanted things to be done in a specific way. Very much a control freak from what it sounds like. But this is where matters get even worse, because we know that Jenna Ortega, in my opinion, is a more valuable actress than Rachel Zegler ever will be. And I think it's a good move that Disney made to obtain Ortega to actually get her in as the role for the Pirates lead in this upcoming movie, alright? So we know that this Pirates reboot is basically going to be the opening of a new franchise. I don't believe it's going to succeed, and look, call it what you want. You can have Ortega in a movie like this all you want, but it's not going to save it from being a woke disaster. And I said this in my previous post. But moving on here, this is where matters get even worse, is that Disney decided to choose Ortega since she already had this and had ties with Disney years ago at the beginning of her career before she started getting more live-action movie roles that are now taking off year by year. Zegler is reportedly desperately trying to put a stop to this by Disney, and of course, Zegler is also not taking this very well at all. Ortega is also taking another role from Rachel Zegler that was actually attached to Disney, which is an untitled project that will be announced during Disney's last earnings call for 2023. In total, Jenna took over 3 major roles that Zegler was supposed to obtain that she recently lost. Ortega's role in the new Pirates reboot is also said to have been a role that was going to drastically increase Rachel Zegler's income from Disney that Ortega now locked in. So again, we can see that Disney is really trying to course correct their ways just by obtaining an actress that is beloved. And I don't think that's going to be enough to save this reboot from being a woke disaster. And I've said this many times, it doesn't matter who you can get the best actress or actor in the world. And as long as it's a woke, garbage franchise, it's not going to take off. Heck, you could have Johnny Depp back for all you want. If the story is not going to focus on the story or character development and pure agenda-driven nonsense, even if Johnny's back, it's not going to work. And you know what? I wouldn't be too surprised if Johnny turned down the role because of that reason as well, knowing Disney's new ways. Not just because of what happened with the whole Amber Heard trial. So this is a very interesting ongoing development, so to speak. This is why Disney will never learn. They think that just by obtaining Jenna Ortega, this Pirates reboot is gonna, flourish and succeed. I don't believe it will, to be quite honest with you guys. But this is where matters get even worse, is that they're trying to compete with DreamWorks, and Jenna replaced Zegler with a voiceover role for this upcoming animated movie that's going to be Shrek-like, alright, Shrek-like, to compete against DreamWorks' new Shrek reboot / sequel and or spin-off. We're not quite sure what that project is just yet. A lot of people are calling it Shrek 5, but we'll have to wait and see. So overall, there's a lot of things happening with Disney right now. They are desperate. They are pretty much on the back burner with a lot of their projects, failure after failure, and I would love to hear what you all have to say about this ongoing situation between Ortega and Rachel, and how Rachel is just really not happy about this at all. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again. No